Then we're going to lift that paddle leaf contact with the leaf springs with the axle, and then install our U-bolts. For shipping purposes, Roadmaster runs this spring all the way up on the threaded nut so that it fits in their box. When you get it, you're going to have to use a 15/16 end wrench on the top of the nut and just turn the spring by hand to lengthen the amount of nut that's showing, so you have enough length to make this fit over the top of your leaf springs. We'll need to take the rod that's attached to the leaf spring side of the suspension kit, using a 10mm hex head and a 3/4mm socket. We'll need to remove that center pin. Roadmaster sends with the kit an additional bracket to be used for the 2011 and newer vehicles. Go ahead and attach that at this time. So the next thing we need to do is install our Roadmaster leaf spring kit over the top of the leaf springs and dry fit it in place. You want to make sure that this is centered on top of the leaf spring and tight in position when you do it. Give it a pull to make sure it's snug, and make sure that this bracket gets in front of the front U-bolt. Next part we'll add is the bar that goes underneath the leaf springs in the front of the front U-bolt. Start by placing the bolt into the shackle on the front. Then I'll place the spacer bar through in the middle, and then run this out again. Next thing you can do is take the spring by hand and start tightening it until you take up all the slack in this lower bracket. Now that we have all our connections in front of the U-bolts tight, before we start adjusting this, we want to make sure to let the pressure off of the jack and off the differential, so that the leaf springs are in its maximum arch position before we start adjusting the tension. You want to use a 15/16 end wrench and go over the very far end lock nuts so you can hold it in place. This is where a speed socket or speed ratchet comes in handy. You can put the speed ratchet 14mm in the tight mode and use it to adjust and tighten the spring. The Roadmaster kit comes with 2 discs, a clear one and a black one. So I'm using the white color or clear color spacer gauge. You want to slide it right in between the springs. And you know you've got it adjusted correctly when you can just slide it in and slide it back out without having any kind of friction on the spring. Just like that. After we have our spring tension set, we want to run these 2 jam nuts on top of the spring. Run the first one down. It's a 15/16. And snug it in there. Run the jam nut on top of it and snug it in as well. Last thing we want to do is make sure we snug up all of our remaining connections. Now that we have the Roadmaster Active Suspension system fully installed on both sides of the truck, we can jack the truck back up and install the rear tires.